When I think of tacos, my mind immediately goes to El Pastor. It's marinated thin slices of pork that's slow roasted and then carved right into a corn tortilla. You then garnish it up with some onion, cilantro, and pineapple. Gosh, is it good. And every time I eat them, I've got great memories that go back to Big Star in Wicker Park, Chicago. Such great times. As you can tell, I'm beyond excited to make these, so let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Sound good? Let's cook. In a 12-inch or 30-centimeter saute pan, we are going to add in a third cup or 141 grams of annatto seeds. Next, we're going to add in about 6 allspice berries, 2 teaspoons or 3 grams of coriander seeds, 1 teaspoon or 2 grams of cumin seeds. Next, 2 teaspoons or 5 grams of peppercorns. We are going to take this pan over to the cooktop. We're going to turn the heat on to low. What we want to do is cook this for about 3 to 4 minutes while frequently stirring to release some of the aromatics. This is going to make this that much more flavorful, so definitely take the couple minutes it takes to do this. All right, at this stage, we're going to remove the pan. I'm going over to a spice grinder. If you don't have a spice grinder, you can absolutely use a mortar and pestle. Once we add that in there, we're also going to add in 2 teaspoons or 2 grams of dry oregano. All right, I'm just going to press this down and grind everything up until it becomes a powder just like this. All right, I'm transferring over to a medium-sized bowl. Next, what I want to do is zest in 1 orange. This zest is going to add a lot of flavor and help cut back on some of the spice from the peppercorns that are in this paste. All right, squeeze the juice of that orange in as well. And just like that, we also want to zest in 1 fresh lime. Also going to add some great flavors in here and then squeeze the juice in there as well. And then, of course, very classic in an achiote paste, we want to finely grate in about 6 garlic cloves. Then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons or 30 grams of white vinegar and 1.5 teaspoons or 7.5 grams of coarse salt. Mix it together until it's combined and try it. Make sure it's delicious. All right, Comies, you may be wondering, what is achiote? Achiote is a tree that produces annatto seeds. However, if you hear annatto seeds or achiote, they're interchangeable and they mean the exact same thing. Now, in this paste, they've got great earthy tones with a little bit of citrus, a little bit of spice. It's a great marinade to use on steak or chicken, whatever you want. Also provides a whole lot of color. Now, if you don't want to make this ahead of time, you can absolutely purchase it from your favorite local Latin grocery store. It will almost always be there. For some reason, though, if it's not, here's another substitute. Look for annatto powder, which is just annatto seeds that are finely ground up into powder. All right, let's get started on this marinade. What we want to do is peel and roughly chop 1 yellow onion. You could also use a sweet or a white onion as well. Now, you know, since I'm all about techniques and looking for ways to pull out as much flavor as possible, I believe one of the best things we can do is roast up these onions and garlic. It's going to go a long way in the flavor department, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. In a large saucepan, I'm going to add in 3 tablespoons or 45 grams of olive oil. You could also use avocado oil. Turn the heat to medium. What we're next going to do is add in that onion, and we want to cook it for about 10 to 15 minutes or until it becomes nice and brown. This is perfect timing though, because what I want to do is prepare our chiles. I have 3 ancho chiles, and you know me, I'm going to remove the pith and the seeds. Although ancho chiles are not spicy at all, this is more just habit for me. So I'm going to remove the seeds. Next, I have 2 guajillo chiles, which also aren't very spicy, but again, I'm going to remove some of the seeds. And then last but not least, 1 dried chipotle pepper. I'm going to remove the seeds. This one does have some heat in there, my friends. All right, let's go back over to the pan. Let's check the onions. You want to come back and stir it every few minutes. I'm going to add in 10 garlic cloves at this stage and cook it until it becomes fragrant, which is about 30 to 45 seconds. Then I'm going to add in 1.5 teaspoons or 3 grams of cumin seeds, 10 peppercorns, and 2 cloves. All we want to do is cook this for just 1 to 2 minutes, release some of those flavors in those spices. Then at this stage, we're going to add in our chiles. Give it a quick saute for 1 to 2 minutes. Again, we're still on medium heat here. We're just going to incorporate some of those flavors. Then I'm going to add in 2 teaspoons or 2 grams of dry oregano, then 2 cups or 472 milliliters of water. We are going to continue to cook this over medium heat and reduce the amount of liquid by 1/2. So there should only be about 1 cup or 236 milliliters left. Also, the chili should be very soft at this stage. Let's transfer this mixture over to a blender. Add all of this in, including the liquid, incredibly important here. Now, I'm going to zest in 1 orange, get all that great flavor in there. And then we need to add in about 1 cup or 236 milliliters of orange juice. This equals about 3 fresh oranges squeezed. Next, we're going to add in the zest of 1 lime. Again, get all that goodness in there. And we need a 1/4 cup or 60 grams of lime juice, which equals about 2 limes. Next, we're going to add in a 1/4 cup or 60 grams of white distilled vinegar, then 2 tablespoons or 45 grams of that homemade achiote paste that we made. Next, we're going to add in about 2 teaspoons or 10 grams of coarse salt. Let's take the blender over to the blender base. Now, because this is a little bit warm, once you add on the lid, remove that centerpiece to release the steam as we turn it on, or else it's going to blow up. I like to put a little kitchen towel over top. So let's start to blend this on slow speed, and then I will begin to crank it up to high speed. Really, you just want to make sure it is completely smooth, just like this. And as always, taste it, make sure it's very tasty. We are going to briefly set it into the refrigerator while we prep up our pork. Oh my gosh, Chef Billy, that's so much salt. Look, we're trying to season up like 5 pounds worth of pork. This marinade should be insanely flavorful. We're not eating the marinade, we're eating the pork. So we need it to penetrate every little square centimeter of this pork. It needs to be crazy delicious. That's why I want to make sure you try it first. See if it needs anything else. All right, I have 6 total pounds or 2,721 grams of pork shoulder. This is bone in. Now, when purchasing pork from the grocery store, you want to look and make sure that the pork is nice and pink like this and has a lot of marbling, or as we call intermuscular fat. This pork is fresh and looks perfect. Now, it is Dr. Chef Billy Parisi time because, like I said, this is bone-in and we need to remove it. So using a chef knife or even a boning knife, locate the bone, which is right in the center, and then all you're doing is carving around the bone, getting as much meat away from it as possible. Take as long as you need here, no rush, and it's totally fine if there's still a little bit of meat left on the bone. Don't stress out about that. All right. This looks absolutely perfect. We've got about 5 pounds or 2,267 grams of deboned pork left over. This is perfect. Then what I like to do is just trim off a little bit more of that fat cap on the top. Now, we're going to slice it into a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 centimeter thick slices. Does not have to be perfect, just eyeball it. Sometimes I pound it till it's just a little bit thinner. Do make sure every piece is this thick so that it cooks evenly when it's on our spit rotisserie. And look at this mound. This is going to be absolutely perfect. Also, don't forget about those pork bones. This makes a great pork stock. Put them in the freezer for a later date. Now I'm going to transfer all of our sliced pork over to a very large bowl. Now, the other option, if you don't want to use a pork shoulder, would be a pork loin. Just thinly slice it as best you can. For me, I think pork shoulder just has a lot more flavor. There's a lot more fat in there. And when you're slow cooking it, it is going to cook out and cook down. And in return, make every little slice of pork that much more delicious. And then what I'm going to do at this stage is add our marinade right to the top of the pork in the bowl. Then using clean hands or gloves or spoon, whatever you have, you want to thoroughly mix this. Take a couple of minutes. Every single side of this sliced pork should be coated in this marinade to make sure it's absolutely delicious. Now, what we're going to do at this stage is cover it in plastic wrap. It's going in the refrigerator for at least 12 hours and up to 24 hours. Remember, the longer the marinade, the more flavor this is going to have. So all al pastor means is shepherd style, but it specifically references the cooking method of spit roasting or grilling. Now, the crazy history of this are Lebanese immigrants who settled in Puebla, Mexico in about the 1930s and brought with them their famous lamb shawarma, which is vertically spit roasted. Well, some of the locals got used to this and adapted their al pastor, which is vertically roasted, to be almost in the exact same cooking method. How awesome is that? So in light of it, I decided to snag one of these vertical rotisseries myself. So let's load this thing up and get to cooking. Taking out our marinated pork looks absolutely fantastic. All right, I have a vertical spit rotisserie. What I'm going to do is line up that vertical spit with the thinly sliced marinated pork, one slice at a time, stacking it up all the way until I get to the top. It's not going to look perfect. It definitely does not have to in any way, shape, or form. It's all going to cook the same, but do make sure every piece is completely on there. Now, you may see some El Pastor marinades out there that call for using pineapple juice. That's all well and good. You can really only marinate for 4 hours, and for me, I always want that overnight flavor impact. Now, the reason being is there's an enzyme in pineapple known as bromelain, and what it does is it breaks down protein, and after just a little bit and just a few hours, it will turn it to complete mush. That's why I don't do it that way, but what I do is add pineapple to the top. It's going to drip down, make it more flavorful, and we don't have to worry about the pork turning into absolute mush. Slice off each end of the pineapple. This will help when you stand it up and it doesn't rock back and forth. Then slice down about 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimeter to remove that rough outside peel. All right, then I'm going to slice it in 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter thick slices. It's okay to leave the core on there because guess what? We are going to pierce the top of that vertical spit and put as many slices on there as we can. Now it's going on that vertical rotisserie and we are going to turn it on and it's going to cook on low speed. We are going to cook this for about 1.5 hours total. However, it will cook from the outside in. So as soon as it's brown and reads 160 degrees Fahrenheit or 71 degrees Celsius on the outside, start slicing it off and it will continue to cook as it goes deeper. Oh, what's the issue? You don't have a vertical rotisserie at home? Don't sweat it. I come bearing substitutes. What you can do is purchase one of these oven vertical rotisseries with the pan on the bottom. It works in the exact same manner. Load up the spit with thinly sliced marinated pork. It goes in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 204 degrees Celsius for about 90 minutes. It'll be nice and browned up. You do want to make sure that the internal temperature reads about 160 degrees Fahrenheit or 71 degrees Celsius. Carve it up, slice it in the exact same way. Now, if you don't have one of these and you don't even want to purchase them, here is what you can do. So in a 10-inch or 25 centimeter nonstick skillet, I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons or 30 grams of oil over medium heat. Then we're going to add in a few slices of our marinated pork. We're going to cook it for about 3 to 4 minutes per side or until it gets a little bit brown and is completely cooked through. This looks excellent. Once it is done cooking, you thinly slice it just like this. Boom, El Pastor ready for tacos. For the pineapple without a vertical pit, you can place the slices on a pan and put them under the broiler for 3 to 4 minutes per side or cook them directly on a very hot grill for 2 to 3 minutes per side. Once they're done, remove the core, medium dice them up, you're good to go. No joke, the smells in here are just divine. I can't wait for you to give this a shot. And Mexican cuisine, I've said this a million times, just continues to impress the heck out of me. It's not the usual stuff that you get day to day here in the United States. No, the depth of flavor is so much more intense. This is cuisine that requires time. This is cuisine that requires love. But I promise you, if you do those two things, the final result is mind-blowing. So without further ado, let me show you how we plate this up into a taco. Using a very sharp knife, slice everything right off that vertical spit into a warm corn tortilla. If you've ever seen a Euro slice, it's the exact same way. Slice off some of that pineapple at the top as well. And then a very classic garnish would be diced red, yellow, white, or sweet onion and some fresh cilantro. And of course, you're going to need to squeeze a little lime juice in there. And goodness, is this so good. It doesn't matter to me if you're using a vertical rotisserie, you cooked it in the oven or in a saute pan. The flavors are the same and they are so delicious. I'm telling you, I think you, your family, your friends are going to absolutely love this. You have to do it. Now, if you do really dig this recipe, check out my tamales. Oh gosh, are they so good? I've got a great recipe video. See you on there.